Okay, I think I'll get going. Just going to go over some basic customizations, going through mostly combo boxes. Just kind of first of all curious what experience in the room as far as what people have done for customizations. If people have done some, done a little bit. Everybody's done some a little bit, deployed them. Okay, good. I actually am doing a screen recording of this, so if anybody wants it and they've got a flash drive, I'm not going to be able to email it to you because it's going to be an hour-long video file that's going to be a little big to screen recorder. I don't know. I think it came out of one of the Microsoft groups. Did just a little screen capture utility, and it's small and easy, and unfortunately I couldn't get into my test database, so I'll just do it in live. It's okay, because I'm going to do it all on UD14. You know, who cares? It's just a UD table. It's not being used anyplace. So, just to start out, going into the customization mode, bring up the customization, and just making the assumption that everybody knows how to at least add a text box and bind it to something. So I'm just going to, got a text box added in there. I'm not even going to bother to give it a nice little name, but I'll tie it to short character 01. I'm just going to give this something so I've got something to save later on. So I think most people probably start out with text boxes, and then they find their users enter in whatever random garbage that they want to put in, and it's never what you really want, and which brings you into combo boxes or drop-down boxes, which you give your user a list of items to look at. First one I'm going to do is a combo box based off of user codes. Has anybody done user codes? So this is going to be basically a static list of values, but the list is coming from the user codes. User codes are in utilities and user codes. And what this is just it's a screen where you can set up, like I've got a couple different lists of codes in here that I use. So I've got, I actually have a company list in there that just lists company codes and the description of them, because if a user doesn't have access to all companies, they can't actually see the full list otherwise. And to add a new code, you just give it an ID, a name, and then you can add your list of codes with giving them ID and a description. To use them, you go into extended properties. Has anybody, I hope people have used extended properties? Yes, no? Okay. Extended properties is a wonderful place. This is where you start to set up, where you can actually start to give your UD fields or your user fields a little bit more of some value to them. So I tossed just a text box with using short character 01. I'll bring in a combo box in a little bit. But first I'm going to tell it that in the UD14 table, short character 01, I want this to be related to something. So, and this time I'm actually just going to say it's related to this UD code of company. And it's actually all I have to do in here. I usually also like to put, if ever I'm coming in here, or anytime I use one of those fields, I like to give it a description and a label. If you give it a label, then anytime you use that field in a BAQ, it fills in the label for you. It also fills it in for field help. If you go to technical details, we'll also give you the description under technical details in field help. So I'll save that and go back. Let's see, I probably have to drop out and come back in for it to pick up the change that I just made on that field. I'm never always sure when I have to, but it usually seems like if you make a change, it's better just drop out of your customization, reload the screen so it can pick up what you just changed. Back into customization mode, and I'm going to use a EpiCombo. A couple of years ago at Insights, I turned on the Epicor developers say should only use two type of combo boxes now. Epi combos and BAQ combos. Don't worry about all the other types. And Don's giving.
That's interesting. I haven't heard that before. But
I haven't either, actually. I was told to use, I was working with like one of the developers and he told me to.
Who was it that told me? Who was it? It's kind of a. He did customization to the max. He's a real excitable guy. He's a karate instructor also.
Each combo box has their place and their use and their time for using them.
Okay.
And I think that that's one of the arts to customization is understanding which ones you want to use. Right? If you take the retriever combos, for example, they're very powerful. You don't want to stick 200 of them into a single program. It'll take forever to load the program. Right?
I think his point on the retrievers was you don't need to use them anymore because you can use a standard Epi combo.
You can, but using the standard Epicor combo is actually the old way to do it. The retrievers are newer. There's a time and a place for each one of them. I personally use a lot of the combo boxes. It's a little bit more manual to link them off to a specific business object if you want to retrieve, go back to my AP and AR terms, right? It takes a little bit more work where the retriever will do all the linking for you, that sort of thing. So there's the trade-off, though, is if you're using a lot of them, you have a little bit of a performance hit when the screen loads and then it pulls back all the data, that sort of thing.
I'm only going to go through those two, the Epi combo and the BAQ combo. I have used retrievers in the past, but once I
The Ultra combo is the one you see up on top next to the binoculars.
Okay.
It allows the forward and backwards through the records.
So I'm going to come in and take this, and I'm going to tie this to short character 01. And nice thing, since I did the extended properties, it filled in all this info down below. So I know what this is. So that is actually all I have to do with that. To get it to make my list. So extended properties told it to go, hey, go look at this user code list. And now that's what I want to display. So it will display the description and store the ID. So that is the user code. Now I'm going to do one that is going to pull in a customer, and I'm going to basically pull a customer list using just a standard combo. I'm going to go back to my extended properties, just because I really like my extended properties. I'm going to say number 01 is I'm going to use that for the customer number. And I'm going to set the like value on it. This actually isn't needed for the customer, for the combo box, but once you set the like value, now you get that nice right click open with. And I'm going to say, so my UD14 number 01 is like, oops, not the customer number 01, it's like the customer number. Customer number versus customer ID. Customer number is the better one to use because that doesn't change on you. Customer ID you can change. And just because I'm going to do it a little bit later, I'm also going to tie this to part. Okay. So, use a standard combo for, and I'm going to bind it to UD14 number 01, which is a customer. And now I'm going to come down and define what business object I want this related to. So I'm going to, oops, I want this related to customer. And as soon as I say it, I want it related to customer, it pretty much guesses what I probably want to display. I probably want to display the customer name and store the customer number, which happens to be right. I want to store the value of the customer number, and it's giving me it's sorting by the name So that is what I want for that one. So now I've got a list with my customers on it. Now, in our database, we actually have parts. A large amount of parts are tied with a primary customer to them. They tend to be specific to a customer. So actually, on our part entry screen, we have customer defined. So what I'm going to show here is how to do a second drop down that will give me the list of parts related to this customer. So to do that, I'm going to use a BAQ combo. So first I need to make a BAQ on it. So I want customer, and I want part. They are related to each other based on company, and this isn't a very good relationship. I will apologize for this relationship. Short character 2. Yes, I know I've got a number bound to a short character, but what's done is done. And I'm going to display, all I really need to display on this is the part number. So I'll show what happens if I take that just as is. So right now I've got a BAQ that if I'll go back and I'll test it. It's going to give me a list. It's going to be a long list because it's going to give me all the parts that are tied to a customer someplace. And maybe I shouldn't have tested it, but it'll finish eventually. Huh? As an inner join. Yeah, it'll be pretty big. Majority of the parts are. It's not huge, but it's long enough. So if I come back in here, go into customization, I'm going to add a BAQ combo. I'm going to bind that to I think I said that was going to be, I think I said that was going to be I was going to store part number. And then I need my query ID. Go back there. And now I've got a display member and a value member. I'm actually going to have those both be the same, and they are part number. So now I'm saying I want to run this BAQ, and I want to display and store part number. I could have displayed part description and stored part number if I wanted to. That would have worked fine. Save it. Now there's going to be, when I come back and open this back up, it's not going to be real pretty. Well, actually, as soon as I hit new. Remember how long that query took me? That's trying to build the list for that drop-down. So, that's not real great. We know it does finish, though, eventually. Yes. You would do it as a calculated field. You do a calculated field in the BAQ, and now you've got something to display.
Can you filter that BAQ based on what's on the screen at home?
That's what's coming. So there's my big giant list. Yay. But has no relationship to customer right now. So there is a little piece related into here. So if I want to filter this based on what's on the screen, I come back to the BAQ and I add I like to do that a lot actually. I hit the wrong new. Yes. Okay. Add a new criteria. New criteria. And I want so I have, back on my other screen, I was storing customer number. So I'm going to put a filter on this, or criteria on this. Customer number is equal to a specified constant, and my constant is EpiBinding UD14 dot number 01. And the syntax on that, as far as where it's documented, I don't know. EpiBinding colon, and then it's the table and field, and it's square brackets around it. Now, of course, I can no longer test this BAQ because I'm filtering by something that doesn't, just come back blank. But once I go back into here, and I hit new, notice my retrieving data came back real quick. Well, because this value is 0, and there are no parts tied to customer 0. I'm going to grab there should be some parts tied to here. Now here's my list of parts. It is still a long list, that's largest customer. But these are all parts that are tied to this customer.
So in the calculated field in the EAQ, it would be part and part description.
Yes, that should work.
Then you then display.
Yep.
Right. That's data field.
Yep, data field to be part of. So supposedly there are a couple other. So that was EpiBinding : supposedly there's also a like : and a current value. And I've never actually looked, but supposedly if you look for help on zones, there might be something about it. Customization to the max.
Okay.
Personally, have you looked at the customization user guide?
Yes.
This is not all documented in there?
I do not believe so. I've never seen it besides for here, and that's why actually this book automatically opens up to this page.
There's a specific user guide for just customizations, personalizations. That's
Right.
it.
Don's looking it up right now.
I have 2 PDFs.
The first PDF is 152 pages.
So I do have one screen that that I went a little. I'd say I went a little crazy on. I mean, this one returned nice and fast. I do have one screen where I did this like 5 times on one screen, and it's even though all the BAQs are returning empties, it still takes a little bit to load the screen. It's not terrible. You can see it keeps on, it's ran through a cycle as it tried to grab, there's a hierarchy, reason, sub-reason, there's a hierarchy part rev, there's a hierarchy for job, op, material, hierarchy for order, line, release. So it's got all those drop-downs are based on prior items. Did you find it in the?
I got nothing on that. I mean, other than the brief explanation, right?
Here's the syntax.
So one other piece that I found with combos. So this combo right here is actually kind of nice because I'm storing it as a number, which actually this one. So if somebody came back and tried to type in that, it wouldn't work. So that's got some validation behind it. But usually on like a UD field, you probably are using some of the key fields, which are character fields, which you won't get a validation on. What I tend to do in that case for a validation is I actually hope that I'm storing a number, because then the validation is a little bit easier, because I will then in the script I will do something like this. And actually, I'll just bind. I'm going to just do another. I'll change this combo here. I'm going to change this combo just back to key 1. Or I'm going to change it to key 1, just because that opens it up that I can type in something wrong, which isn't great. So oops, get in the right spot. So what I found, even though I would do a nice drop down for people would still go, well, I'm not going to listen, and I'm going to, just type in some random piece and save it. And customer number. Oh, that still worked because it's like property on it. I've had it where it doesn't give me an error on it because I'm tied to a field that will accept it. Actually, I'm not sure where it picked up that I can't enter that. It might be because I did a like number 01, which is actually much. I think it still took it though. Yeah, it still took it. So it took it and then made a mess out of it. Okay, so what I will normally do is I will put in a catch after the change on that field that says, no, I don't like what you put in, and I'm going to overwrite it with my own value I'm going to overwrite it with 0. I crashed that screen. So to do that, let's see, that would be which type of, I want a form event wizard. I want a after field change UD14 key 1 and I'm just going to do apologize, I didn't actually put into my notes everything that I wanted in there for my. I always have to go back and copy and paste from stuff I've previously done to remember the syntax for my EpiData view.
I don't think you're the only one.
And I didn't declare it in my notes here. I don't have it declared. It's like, oh, this isn't going to work. So I just got to grab one real quick where I did this. And so this is actually a UD table. Got manufacturer. Manufacturer is Yeah, it must be manufacturer number stored. Manufacturer ID. Oh, it's class. Okay, here's one. All our classes are, all our part classes are numeric. So I have and it's one of the key fields on here. Actually, here I've got it on the manufacturer. Manufacturer ID must also be numeric. So on the after the change of the field, I put this stuff in. So I create an Epi data view, and then I just grab the value that I'm looking at and just a little bit of C code to try to parse it to make sure it's a integer value, because that's what I'm expecting it to be, is an integer value. If it's not an integer, I change it to 0 and tell them that they need to select it from the list. Because that's the problem I was having there, is people would just type in, because they would type in random things that weren't on the list. Does that kind of make sense? You want me to toss it into that other one just to show it, or? Okay. Let's see. Any questions on various pieces, on combo boxes, or on other customizations?
You don't have to use extended properties, right? You look like you need extended properties to help associate with that type.
Correct.
You don't have to do that, right?
Correct. But it does give you this item where now I can open with.
If you don't associate to the extended properties, it won't give you the open with ability from that field. It's one of the big things it brings. It also allows you to manage at a global level these labels. So when you start talking about a short character field, you can change the labels there, which automatically changes how they show up for VOQs. So you don't have to go and change short character 02 and 48 different VOQs.
Yep.
That sort of thing. So you can manage it in one spot and it flows through downstream. The extended properties over the right click is really the one that drives people towards that.
When was that introduced? What version? 91?
Extended properties go back as far back as I go. They've always been there. People just don't use them as
See, I also use it as my. So before I started using them, every time I wanted to use a short character field, or I want to use one of the custom fields, first thing I have to do is I have to do a BAQ and see, did I already use this someplace?
I'll go back to how I manage that for my customers, right? Every Epicor customer has an Epicor SharePoint site, right? Whether you guys are using it or not, it exists. For all of my customers, when I'm implementing, we create on there a list view for them to manage their user-defined fields. So as you go and use short character 1, you log it there with a title. That way then what you can do is you can actually cross-reference. So if I have a customer field that gets pulled into a quote header field, that gets moved to a sales order, that gets moved to an invoice, and it follows the document through the entire process, I have that same field with the same label on the SharePoint site, and I can filter by title, and I can see all the different fields that it goes to. So as you're writing your BPMs to move data from A to B to C to D, you have all the different fields that hold that data. Rather rather than using the extended properties for that, I like it there because it allows everybody quick access to it, and I can put in change logs, historicals, and any other fields we need. And I can, if anybody has ideas on that, I can show you some examples of my current customers and my previous customers. After lunch, it was my turn to play.
One other little this is a little piece that I just picked up recently because I've started to do some external queries. Use external BAQs. Anybody else using external BAQs? Right, but I'm doing an external BAQ of a replication, what's replicated, because I can make this beautiful, complicated view that.
And that is new, guys. The ability to query external databases does exist. It was introduced with 700. So if you're on 600, you may not have that functionality. Certainly if you're on 904 or this bit, you won't have it. But you do, and I'll let Carson walk through. You can now query to external through VCs.
I thought, but it has to be just grown. We can't external to access.
I don't know the answer on that. I would assume you could, but I don't know the answer.
I should close out of customizations so I stop getting prompts about it. So you server. Yep. It's a piece they've talked about, but right now it just supports.
Access to help us do some of that on the GL side, so we get that kind of DLC with all the software.
You should just move it to SQL. Just move it to SQL. Just move it to SQL. So one of the pieces that I found when I started doing this that I lost then is also now I make a dashboard that looks like it's a built-in Epicor dashboard, and it's referencing Epicor part numbers, but I can't right-click anymore. But you can change extended properties also on screen customization. So you can change extended properties individually in a screen. So what's the one that I just did? This is one I just made that I know will have it in. So this is a query that it's actually all Epicor data, but it's grabbing data from different companies, and it ended up being difficult in the BAQ. It was easy in SQL, so I did it where it was easy. And I just created a view in SQL that gave me the data I wanted. And it is in So normally on an external BAQ, you would not get an open with. But because it doesn't know, it's some other data. It doesn't know what this is. But you can put those in the customization. So there is, in the wizards, in the customization wizards, there's a modify extended properties. And you can grab your data. I'll just grab a new one. And it actually doesn't give you all the available extended properties, but I just grabbed one for the syntax. I tend to do this a lot in customizations. I will use a wizard to give me some basic syntax and then do whatever I want with it from then. Yeah. So this created this piece, and it said, here's an extended properties. But I can overwrite this, and I can give it its like property if I wanted. So, and that can be done per screen. So you could actually add on any screen kind of whatever like relationship or anything that's on extended, I believe anything that's on extended properties in an individual screen. I think I've seen it used for people using extended properties to kind of toggle a read-only or an enabled, and especially if it's a screen where something shows up multiple times, that if you want to get it every place, make sure you got it every place.
Where the here we've got a date here, but if I say like, and then I tie it to the order number, is that going to be off?
Well, it's going to blow up. So it won't blow up on this one. It's going to blow up when you do open with,
Right.
and it's going to go open with, and it says, I can't find order number. So,
So we need to the type.
yes, you should make valid relationships.
Let me make a word option to that as well. A lot of fields within Epicor are calculated and disabled on purpose. You can, through this very process, through extended properties to enable it, right, would allow you to change the calculation that's happening in the job. So while you can take your enabled to equal false, be very hesitant about taking it to enable equals true, because you may be getting the calculated information that the system is showing, and you would then be able to change it, which could end up with some odd calculations once you go back and start making changes. So if you think the example I'm going to pick on is the order header, right, has a total order amount field. Well, it's a summation of my order lines and releases multiplied by the extended value. If I go in there and enable it and can change it from 10,000 to 11,000, right? The way the system calculates, if I remember right, I'm going to go out on a limb here, is it doesn't recalculate by summing up all the extended values. It looks at the delta that's created between your change of order value on that line times the quantity. So if you have a quantity of 1 on that line for $10,000 and you change it to 9,000, it doesn't redo all the math. It sees a negative 1,000 and subtracts 1,000 up front. So if you were actually going zero everything out, you'll end up with a negative value on that order as a result, which will cause all sorts of reporting issues and various other database issues that become extremely difficult to troubleshoot. So enabled equals false, I use quite often. If it is true, I would suggest that probably don't do it. And the only reason I'm picking on it is he actually did it here, right? Date fields are very rarely calculated within the system, so I'm not worried about that. But when we start talking about other fields that are maintained, that's what I'm cautious about.
Yeah. And this is actually a meaningless extended property on an external VAQ because there's no. Well, it's.
We can't maintain it.
Well, then
All
on
right.
the external PAQ, does that ODBC callout have to be on everybody that's going to run that?
No.
Or just on the surface?
It's just on the server. Which is probably why only supporting SQL. Because otherwise, presumably on your app server, you would have to have. Well, I don't know. It depends on where it pulled the. But I would guess that's why they're only supporting one for now. Because that gets messy real quick.
Yeah.
It's also the long-term goal is SQL backend across core applications anyway. So it does make sense that way. I'm a little bit surprised you can't do it to access, but there's likely something on the server call because the data is displayed in a dashboard is actually generated by the server and then given to the client, right? So the actual analytics, the calculations, the table calls, the execution of the VAQ is actually done on the server and transferred to the client. So there's got to be